What we're saying to all of you is that you are big dreamers and big creators, not small thinkers and mediocre creators. And when you approach life from your physical standpoint of moving stuff around, you create so much less than you are capable of, that you begin to believe in your unworthiness, for which you ask for forgiveness. On the other hand, if you're dreaming and allowing yourself to hook in to the dreaming that your inner being has already accomplished on your behalf, then in your full connection, there is no unworthiness, there is no need for forgiveness. There is wholeness and clarity that just leads to one great idea and one great experience after another. This really got into some far-reaching conversation about the power of creation, and it's only possible to have a conversation like this in a gathering where desire is strong and willingness is steady. They've been patient.
I know. Thank you.
They've been willing to stay in the vibration of the thought until it moved into a place of greater understanding. And that's what deliberate creation is. Deliberate creation is taking the bounce from what is, but not looking back at what you bounced from. Deliberate creation is accepting that who you are right now is a byproduct of your culture and your heritage and your family and the way life touched you. And it is you as far as you have allowed yourself to demonstrate. But there's another part of you that you haven't introduced yourself to enough. There's another part of you who exists vibrationally over here in the vortex that is light and free and sure and whole. To the extent that you've allowed yourself to manifest is a small comparison to the part of you that you've not yet allowed yourself to manifest. You following us?
Yes.
What's in your bank account is only what you've let in through your variation of unfocused thoughts. But the vibrational reality and your vibrational escrow contains so much more. And you have ready access to it if you can cling to what is a little less and dream what is a little more. So we're not actually asking you to form the dream. We're asking you to receive the dream. We're saying to you that through life, you knew what you didn't want and you launched a rocket about what you did. Every time you touched one end of the stick, you created the other end of the stick. And the other end of the stick is this vibrational reality that we are talking about, that is not just possibility and not only probability, it is absolute ability. In other words, it is for sure, for sure, for sure. If you have lived one end of the stick, you've created the other end of the stick. We just want you to turn your attention from that end of the stick and to this end of the stick. Pulling out all the stops and giving you everything we've got in relationship to this. So what that means is that with everything that you've lived, you put a piece of it in your vortex. Everything that you've lived, you put another piece in the vortex. And your inner being has been there receiving it, becoming it, focusing on the whole of what it means, taking the pieces of the dream that you've put there, or the ingredients of the dream that you've been putting there, and seeing it as the whole of the dream that you've created that you can't see, that your inner being can see. So now what we're suggesting is that if you can find one piece of that good feeling dream and use it as your focal point so that you activate, then you'll hook up, zoom, with your inner being who sees the whole thing, and then all manner of ideas and rendezvous and impulses and urges will begin to flow into your experience. And if you've ever had the exhilarating experience of talking with a master of anything, that's the way they describe their life to be. They're in this place, they sometimes call it just an open space, when an idea flows and they can feel the impact of that idea. And when they follow through on it, it's like heaven and earth. It's like everything that exists in the universe becomes a cooperative component, all responding to the action that they are offering with their thought, you see. And so if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would be a little less attentive to the things that have already manifested, because it's old news. It's like gum you've chewed the flavor out of. and would be more attentive to what's in the vortex. And when we catch a glimpse of something that felt particularly good, we would milk it until we were sure that we had identified and isolated the feeling of that. And then we would sit for as long as we can give ourselves permission to do, which we would encourage you to carve out larger and larger times. Do you ever remember just lying in the grass when you were a kid and just letting your mind go? That's what we're talking about, being someplace where somebody won't interrupt you, where from that place of alignment that you know that you've accomplished because you can feel the power of it, you just let your mind take it. You let your mind be the receptacle for the thinking of your own inner being. You let your mind be the thinking receiving mechanism for the thoughts that the source within you thinks. You let yourself feel and hear and think. You let your mind translate, as Esther's is translating for us right now. These are not Esther's thoughts. These are our thoughts that are moving through Esther's mind, our thoughts that are moving through Esther's mind, and she's finding the physical equivalent words to express for them. And you will find the physical everything equivalent, the urge, the impulse, the feeling. You'll be driving down a street one day and you'll feel like stopping at 7-Eleven, and you won't know why, because you don't like the slushies there. But you're in there because you felt like going in there, and you see something and you think, well, maybe that was it. I did need Kleenex, and maybe that was it. I did want a bottle of water. But then on the way out, you have an impulse to buy that ticket, and when you do, it's a winner. And you recognize it after the fact. What we want you to do is recognize it before the fact. We want you to follow the feeling without the payoff, because the feeling is the payoff. We want you to follow the feeling without the payoff, because the heightened feeling is the payoff. And once you get hooked on the feeling, once you get hooked on the feeling of alignment, then what happens is the payoffs start coming, and then you'll be hard-pressed, as we are, to explain it to anybody else, because they won't be really ready to get it. They'll want to know, how did you get there? How did you know when to stop? How did you know? Oh, and then they want to call it luck. No, it wasn't luck. It was inspiration. It was intuitiveness. It was in the vortexness. It was being in the vicinity of the vortex. It was following an impulse that I'd learned to practice. Helpful?
Yeah, a little bit.
Helpful. Really good. Really good.